The Last Leaf by O. Henry, who is famous for his short stories with emotional twists and surprise endings. This story is about hope, friendship, and sacrifice, and it shows us how a single act of kindness can bring life back to a person who has given up. The story takes place in the early 90s in a small neighborhood called Greenwich Village in New York City. It was a quiet area full of narrow streets and old houses where many young artists lived. They came there from different parts of the country, dreaming to become a famous painter. Among them were two young women, Sue and Johnsy. They met at a cafe one day and quickly became friends. Both were painters and both shared similar dreams and tastes. So they decided to rent a small apartment together on the top floor of an old building. Their studio was simple, with a small kitchen, a few paintings hanging on the wall, and a large window that looked out onto a brick wall covered with a creeper vine. That vine would later become the most important part of their lives. One winter, a terrible disease spread throughout the city: pneumonia. People were falling sick everywhere. And unfortunately, Johnsy got it too. The doctor came and examined her. He said softly to Sue, "She has very little chance to recover unless she has the will to live." After the doctor left, Sue tried everything to cheer her up. She talked about the future, about the paintings that they would sell, about going on holidays after Johnson's recovered, but Johnsy just lay quietly, looking out the window towards the old vine on the wall. The leaves were falling one by one. It was cold, windy, and rainy, the kind of weather that makes even healthy people feel sad. And one day, Johnsy whispered weakly, "When the last leaf falls, I will die too." Sue was shocked. She said, "Oh, Johnsy, don't say that. That's such a silly idea." But Johnsy didn't answer. She just kept staring out the window, counting. "There are only 5 leaves left now. Tomorrow there will be 4. No matter how much Sue tried, Johnsy wouldn't listen. She had lost all hopes. In the same building lived an old artist named Berman. He was over 60 and had a long white beard and always smelled of paint and wine. He often said that someday he would paint his masterpiece, a painting that would make him famous, but he never started it. He was grumpy but kind-hearted. He cared deeply for Sue and Johnsy, like a protective old uncle. That evening, Sue went downstairs to Berman's small, dark room and told him everything about Johnsy's illness, her belief that she would die when the last leaf fell. Berman listened quietly. Then, with tears in his eyes, he shouted, "What foolishness! Poor little Miss Johnsy to think about dying because of a leaf! I must do something." Sue didn't understand anything. But that night, a cold storm hit the city. The wind howled, rain poured heavily, and everyone stayed inside. When morning came, the world outside was grey and cold. Johnsy asked Sue to open the curtain. Sue hesitated. She was afraid the wine might be bare. But when she finally looked, she gasped. There was still one leaf left, a green, strong leaf clinging to the wall. It hadn't moved in the night storm. Johnsy stared at it and surprised. "All the others have fallen," she whispered. "Why hasn't that one?" As the days passed, the leaf stayed there, through wind, rain, and cold. It didn't fall. Johnsy began to think differently. "If that leaf can stay there and fight, maybe I can too." Her voice grew stronger day by day. She ate, smiled, and started to recover. Even the doctor was amazed. A few days later, the doctor visited again. He said Johnsy would get well soon. But sadly, Berman was very sick. He had caught pneumonia too. Sue rushed to see him. Berman had been found in his room, wet and freezing. His ladder, paint, and brushes were all outside near the wall of the wine. And there, on the brick wall, was the last leaf painted so perfectly that no one could tell it was not real. Sue realized the truth. That night, while the storm raged, Berman had gone out to paint that one last leaf, so that Johnsy would have hope and not give up. He finished his masterpiece, but he gave his life for it. When Sue told Johnsy the truth, tears filled her eyes. Was Berman's that leaf, the one that never fell, was the final gift. Johnsy looked out again at the wall. That leaf still stood, green and alive. And she whispered, "It was Berman's masterpiece. He painted it for me." The story teaches us that hope can heal even the deepest wound. And sometimes the greatest art is not what we create on canvas, but what we do for others with love and sacrifice. So that was The Last Leaf by O. Henry, a story that reminds us even in the darkest storm, one leaf of hope can save a life. Yes, thank you everyone.